All right, we've been talking about the situation with Kevin Stallings, the Vanderbilt head coach, yelling at one of his players post-game, and cameras picked it up, and he basically was saying, I'm going to bleep and kill you to one of his players. Now, his player did tweet after the game to say, Coach Stallings, the best coach in America. Basically no hard feelings there. We reached out to Doug Gottlieb, works with CBS, covering March Madness. He's got North Carolina and Miami coming up, his next game. Played college basketball at Oklahoma State, and Dougie Fresh joins us now. So you're standing behind Kevin Stallings here.
Absolutely. I mean, this is like the change since we were kids or since we were players, Dan, is, I hate to, go back in my day, or back in your day. But when a parent would get a call from a teacher when we were in school, did our parents ever think that the teacher did something wrong? Like, no. And we're so protective of our children, and for the most part, rightfully so. But this is how parenting has changed, how coaching, some people believe needs to change. And I think we're getting way away from the point. And the point was, here's a big win for a young team on the road. They had a couple players had a little back and forth in the media after their last game when Josh Richardson, who plays for Tennessee, said they were just tougher than Vanderbilt.
Yep.
And so when you win with class, and Baldwin didn't, and he was taunting a little bit. And when Stallings found out about it, he clearly flipped his lid, but the idea was to embarrass the kid and make him apologize and shake hands in front of everybody else, because that's coaching. That's what coaching is, not just about X and O's. It's about taking in a boy and spitting out a man. And Kevin Stallings also comes from that North Carolina basketball family, and that's what they believe. Now, did you really think he was going to kill the kid?
No, but Doug, why did he apologize?
Because that's what we become. We become this, we have this PC Twitter police. Look, Twitter was all into the llamas and the color of its dress yesterday.
That's true.
Right? And then from there, everybody needs to apologize for everything they've ever done.
But if he believes that this is the way to coach, then you don't apologize. You say, I'm trying to make a man out of him. I'm trying to give examples. I'm trying to teach him. Don't back away from it. If that's
I think he just apologized for saying, I'm going to blanking kill you. He didn't apologize for what he was doing. It was more the way in which he was doing it. And I mean, look, Dan, you played at two schools. I'm pretty sure that, especially with your immense skill set, you probably ticked off a coach or two in your life. And I'm sure they told you at some point that they want to put a boot in your, what?
Well, they didn't want to kill me. I mean, he
doesn't want to kill him. I'm gonna kill you. That doesn't mean I'm gonna kill you.
Doug, who uses that language? Who says I'm gonna bleep and kill you? What coach would use that?
I would say a lot of coaches use that language. I'm gonna kill you at practice. I'm gonna kill you at practice. I'm gonna, think about it though. If you're in the locker room before the game and you're like, hey, when we beat these guys, don't act like a blank hole, right? And then the second you beat them, and they were up 11 the first half, and they're down 4, and they come back and they win. Remember, it's Tennessee Vanderbilt. Don't act like an a-hole. And the kid was acting like an a-hole, and so he made a point of it. And I'm going to kill you. That doesn't mean I'm going to kill you. When did I'm going to kill you mean I'm going to kill you? Unless it was Jeffrey Dahmer who said I'm going to kill you and apparently did it.
Yeah, but I don't understand even going there. Taking that word. I don't. You can yell at him. Plus, did it ever get through to you when a coach yelled at you, or when he just grabbed you and said, hey, I want to talk to you? I said, you want to get through to the kid? If 100 times you tried to get through to him, then the problem is the person delivering the message, not the person on the receiving end. Take away playing time from the kid. That'll get through to you.
I think that's great in your radio studio, and I'm sitting in an airport getting ready to catch a plane. I think in the heat of the moment. And look, I'm not disagreeing with you. If I was coaching today, I tell coaches all the time. They said, well, how would you handle it? I would say be as non-confrontational as possible, because the second you're confrontational, that's when, it's like Chuck Daly would talk about that when he coached the Pistons. Some days, guys, you can't go to the whip every day. You just can't, because if you go to the whip every day, at some point the horse is not going to know it, and they're not going to react the way you want to react. I get it, man.
Yeah.
But I also, this is part of it, Kevin Stallings' personality. He's a little bit old school. I think it was a little bit heat of the moment. And I also, though think sometimes you need to jar a kid out of the moment and get him to understand the gravity of people watching. And maybe Kevin learned a lesson of it. And I think also, hey, maybe we kind of learned a little bit. We all want more. We want more. We want Kevin Stallings to be mic'd up, right? We want to know what goes on in the handshake line. And this is what goes on. I mean, hell, the Tennessee assistant coach could have waited until after they shook hands, gone in the locker room and said something. He didn't. And I actually don't think I don't think any of this is a bad thing. If Kevin could take back the "I'm going to kill you," sure, I'm sure he would. But I don't think the message he would take back, and he didn't back down from that after the game either.
What if Coach K did this?
Coach K does do that. Yeah, have you ever? I mean, I'm not going to kill you, but like, there's a reason Coach K's not mic'd up. I mean, Coach, like, listen, he's not Bob Knight, but he does come from the Bob Knight school. So, I mean, if anybody thinks that he just gives out hugs and kisses every time a kid screws up, like, you're out of your mind.
Oh, I get that. I've been to a practice before, and, I realize the Coach K on TV is a whole lot different than the Coach K who's, behind-the-scenes coaching these kids. But, I guess the whole thing is I'm going to bleep and kill you. That's where it stands out where you're going, really, that in the heat of the moment, that's the word or words that came to mind. That's what's amazing, I think.
You've never said that to somebody? I'm going to kill you. Like, you really, do we take that to, here's how soft we've gotten. Did you know that Webster's changed the definition of literally, where it doesn't actually have to mean literally? Literally can mean figuratively, but because people have misused literally so often that they just change the definition. Like, what are we doing here? Let a coach coach. If he steps out of line, look, if he goes over the top, he's going to have to deal with the kid's parents for the rest of the season, and he's going to have to backpedal. The idea of making a guy apologize in the heat of the moment when the kid embarrasses the school, embarrasses himself, and taunts an arch rival, let's not get far afield. His message was correct.
Who embarrassed the school more, Doug?
I think the kid did. I actually think none of them did. I think this is Vanderbilt says when we win, we want to win the right way, and I'm all for it, because you win with class, you lose with class. You shake hands. I have a bigger problem when people don't shake hands. Don't look some of the eye with the KG stuff, who suddenly become a hero because he goes back to Minnesota. Hey, when you lose a conference, when you lose a series in the playoffs, you go and you shake the guy's hand who just kicked your ass. That's the way it works. That's how sports work.
Well, they won. Imagine if Kevin Stallings lost.
You have to win with the same class you lose with. That actually is like, if this is the year in which we remember Dean Smith.
Yeah.
I don't think Dean Smith was the greatest basketball coach of all time, but one of the things he did teach his kids was, hey, class extends to not just losing with class, but winning with class and treating people with respect. And I think that's what Kevin was doing. This is like, hey, do your kids' friends, do they call you Dan or they call you Mr. Patrick?
Mr. Patrick.
Yeah. Well, I call you Mr. Patrick because you're so much older than me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So,
you know what? You're old enough to call me Dan now, Doug.
No, I understand, but it's the idea of, like, my dad was a little bit old school, but people called him Mr. Gottlieb or Coach Gottlieb, and I think we lose that. I don't think everything that used to happen 20, 30 years ago was better than now. I'm not so obtuse to think that, but I do think that we treat people and we treat situations with less respect than we used to, and sometimes you need to get put in check. And whether it's Mike Montgomery a couple years ago grabbing Alan Crabb, I didn't have a problem with that. And I didn't have a problem with Kevin Stallings last night, putting the kid in check and making him understand you have to respect your opponent. You have to respect the jersey you wear and the jersey the other team wears because you represent something greater. So if people don't like that, I would just disagree with it. I don't think it's something worth going to war over, but I do think it's a sign of the times in which oftentimes we criticize the coach or the teacher more than the pupil who stepped out of line.
Okay, but how would you parent your kid? Would you say, if you're that angry that your son has done something over and over and over and over, I'm going to bleep and kill you?
It's funny you bring that up. I have 3 little kids, and, my wife has an early childhood ed degree. She's got a nursing degree, and so, we were never going to spank, and then we'd spank. And really, spanking is more about your own self-control and finding. But sometimes a kid does need a little swift, on the backside. It's a hard deal controlling your verbal aggression. I do think this is different. I think it's different when you got 18 to 22-year-old men. They use a different, as you know, Dan, you use a completely different language amongst men of that age with each other than you do in polite company, than you do with kids.
Yeah, but if you have an 18-year-old son, it's the same
Yeah.
thing. Do you parent him the way you would coach him?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm going to kill you. I mean, again, I believe that the new way, the smart way of doing it, is the non-confrontational. Take a kid out, sit him there, walk by him, ask him, "Do you know why I took you out?" The kid says no. You tell him that's why I took you out, and every time you do that, I'm going to take you out. And then don't confront the kid. But I also realize that Kevin Stallings comes from that old school. He demands respect for that particular moment in time. So,
did you ever get yelled at for shooting the ball?
Dude, what? I get yelled at for everything. I was the whipping boy. Eddie Sutton would say, "I'm going to run your ass back to California." Now, did I put on my running shoes and hit the road and get
I don't
on
think
Highway
he meant it.
51?
I don't think he meant it literally.
No, and when he said he would run us till our ankles smoked, our ankles did not. They felt like they were going to smoke, but they didn't. Yeah. When he said we were congregating like we were shooting craps, I knew that didn't mean we were actually shooting craps with money on the floor.
Okay.
That we were just standing too close to each other.
Okay, I'm going to leave you with this. You're going to leave us with your answer. It's yes or no. Kentucky goes 40-0.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I'll bet you dinner.
Okay.
I'll take Kentucky. I mean, I'll just do it straight up with you.
So we're doing Kentucky of the field, basically. Is that the deal?
Yeah,
or you're saying they lose?
Yeah. Yeah, they lose a game.
Ooh. I mean, everybody's going to be rooting for them to lose a game, right?
No, part of me, I understand what Calipari's done. I like that he's basically said, I'm going to use the rule to my advantage, and he's done that. And the kids play hard. They play defense. He coaches them. I think he's realistic with them. I'm fine with that. If Kentucky goes undefeated, great. Good for them. But I'm not rooting against them. I just think somebody's going to knock them off.
Oh, I think they're beatable. I think one of the problems is the handful of teams that can beat them might not make it for an opportunity to beat them. You know, it's like I think Gonzaga, because they can all score, could give them a good game. I think Virginia could, but I think Virginia is going to struggle to score. I think Wisconsin could, but Wisconsin, is just not that athletic. And if you can make some shots like Duke could, if Duke can't, but I'm just not sure that any of those other teams are going to survive long enough to get that shot at Kentucky.
The thing is, defense rarely takes a night off. Offense does, so it might come down to Kentucky's offense whether they win or lose a game. Their defense is going to be great. We'll see how the offense is. But safe travels. I got to run here. Great.
All right, brother.
Great
hey, listen, tell whichever one of your 30 producers tried to reach out today.
It's 35.
To not block my 35 producers?
35 producers?
35 producers.
Yes. Thanks, Doug.
Later.
All right, Doug Gottlieb.